If you are listening to this now, it's because his soul has already started to move in your direction. Even if your eyes can't see it yet, something in the invisible is already happening. There are subtle, invisible threads that have never broken, and at this moment, they are being pulled back. You didn't come this far by chance. You didn't click on this video out of curiosity. It was your own energy that brought you here. It was the call that came from within, silent, persistent, like an echo that crosses the distance. There are days when absence weighs like an invisible weight on your chest. There are nights when you try to convince yourself that you don't feel anything anymore, but just one stray thought, a scent, a sound lost in the wind, and it comes back. It returns in memory, it returns in sensation, it returns in vibration, and deep down, he feels it too. He may be trying to distract himself, he may be building walls, he may be running far away, but the truth is that no one escapes from themselves, and you both are mirrors. Perhaps his silence hurts more than any word he could have said. Perhaps the distance seemed definitive, and yet, the energy doesn't fade. You wake up on days when you feel something different in the air. It's as if there's a subtle change, a presence that can't be seen, but can be sensed. It's in those moments that the heart presses, that the intuition speaks, and that the soul whispers, something is about to change. If this message has already started to touch your spirit, subscribe now. This channel is not about information. It's about awakening. It's about translating what your soul already knows, but what your fear still can't admit. It's about recognizing the signs that the universe sends when the cycle of escape is about to end. Today, we will talk about the 7 spiritual signs that indicate the end of this distance is near. And here, we are not talking about coincidences or things in your head. We are talking about real, energetic movements that begin even before any physical contact. Perhaps you have already noticed more vivid dreams, synchronicities almost impossible to ignore, unexpected encounters with things or people that remind you of him. Perhaps you have felt changes in your own energy, in your mood, in your body. But what if I told you that none of this is random? The universe doesn't work with chance. It sends you signs, clues, little flashes of a destiny that is already written at the deepest level of your soul. And when the cycle of escape is coming to an end, these signs intensify. It's like a tide that begins to change direction, slow at first, but impossible to stop. You may feel as if something inside him is struggling, but at the same time, surrendering. This journey you are living is not linear. It has ups and downs, encounters and separations, intensity and silence, and the phase of escape. This phase. It is perhaps the most painful for those who truly feel, because it is the phase in which love exists, but fear speaks louder. It's when he feels the connection but fears losing himself in it. It's when the ego dresses itself in justifications, trying to protect old wounds, avoiding the mirror that you represent. But there comes a moment when the escape loses strength, when the resistance begins to yield. And before that happens on the physical plane, the soul gives signs that often go unnoticed if you are distracted, caught up in fear or anxiety. That's why it's so important to learn to recognize them. What I'm going to show you today goes beyond logic. It's beyond text messages, social media, appearances. We will talk about signs that happen in energy, in spirit, in the space between you two. Because the truth is that, before manifesting here, in the visible world, the reunion begins inside, where only the soul can touch. So, take a deep breath. Feel the words that come. It's not just about him. It's about you. It's about what your intuition already perceives, but your heart still fears to believe. It's about that sacred moment when the universe begins to align everything so that the cycle of escape comes to an end and your paths cross again. You silently wonder when everything changed, when that gaze that seemed infinite became distant, when the presence that warmed became absence. It's almost impossible not to go back to that exact moment when you felt whole, connected, sure that there was something much greater guiding everything. But suddenly, like someone closing a door without warning, he pulled away, and you were left there, with the questions, with the emptiness, with the strange feeling that nothing made sense, and at the same time, everything still did. It's hard to explain to those who have never lived it, to those who think that an intense love is just chemistry or need. You know it's not. You know it's not just about liking someone. It's as if he has a piece of you, and you a piece of him. And no matter how hard you try to tear it away, you can't. It's not obsession. It's not common attachment. It's a thread that doesn't break, a bond that persists, even on the days when you convince yourself it's over. You tried to move on, tried to occupy your mind, distract yourself, even convince yourself that you were fine. But just 1 second, one tiny detail, is enough to feel that he is still there. How to explain? How to tell someone that, even without speaking to him for months, sometimes you feel your heart race out of nowhere, as if in response to an invisible call, that on some nights, you wake up with the strange feeling that you dreamt of him. And when you remember, it's not just a dream. It's almost as if you had been with him in another place, another time. These experiences leave questions that echo in the soul. Does he think of you when the city is silent? Is this distance a choice or destiny? Does love end, or does it just change form? These questions don't leave your mind, because they are not just thoughts. They are intuitions. And deep down, you know the connection hasn't broken. It has just changed frequency. The phase of running away on the twin flame journey is perhaps the most challenging. And it's not because love has died. It's because love, at this level, requires more courage than most are willing to have. He saw things in you that he didn't even know existed. You awakened dormant parts. You brought to the surface emotions he didn't know how to handle. And for many, this is frightening. The instinct is to run away, as if fleeing from a fire, not realizing that the fire doesn't destroy, it transforms. But why does this phase exist? Why is it necessary? Because it is in this distancing that each person needs to face their own fears, wounds, and blockages. And for the runner, this can be too painful. He may wear masks, lose himself in distractions, seek other paths. You, on the other hand, carry the weight of silence. And it is in this empty space that doubt resides. Does he feel the same, or was it all imagination? What few understand is that, even in running away, there is a dialogue happening between the souls. Even in silence, there are subtle exchanges. It's as if, from time to time, his energy approaches and touches yours, without him even being consciously aware of it. You feel this, in your body, in your mind, in your heart. A sudden memory, a chill without explanation, a melancholy that has no apparent origin. And it is exactly at this point that many get lost, by confusing the pause with a definitive end. But not everything that seems like an end is an end. Sometimes, it's just the universe clearing the way, removing burdens, healing wounds that would prevent love from truly blossoming. When the cycle of running away is about to end, the energy between you begins to change. Small signs appear, almost imperceptible at first. But for those who feel, they are impossible to ignore. You may notice changes in yourself, greater sensitivity, more clarity about what you want, a strange calm mixed with expectation. You may also feel that his image comes with more strength, not just out of longing, but because the connection is active, pulsing. There is a kind of silent magnetism, as if something is pulling you both to the same point. And it is in this mix of emotions, hope, fear, love, doubt, that the soul begins to prepare for the turning point. The question that remains is, are you ready to recognize the signs when they come? Are you ready to realize that the universe may be saying it's time, even when everything on the surface still seems distant? Because the end of running away is not just about him coming back. It's about a much deeper process that begins beforehand in the invisible plane, and that asks from you something essential: presence, attention, an open heart. It's about truly feeling what is changing, and trusting that each movement, even silent, is part of the reunion. The pain of running away is not just in his physical absence. It's in the echo that this absence leaves within you. It's a silence that is not empty, but full of questions, memories, and sensations that insist on returning. It's as if your soul is still in dialogue with his, even though, on the physical plane, he has distanced himself. And perhaps that is exactly what is happening. On the twin flame path, distance is not a mistake, it's a mirror. It reflects everything that still needs to be seen, healed, and understood. It is during this period that the ego manifests more strongly, both yours and his. His ego screams for safety, trying to avoid the intensity you awaken. Your ego, on the other hand, screams for answers, for presence, for guarantees. Two wounded egos trying to protect themselves while the souls just wait for the moment to touch again. What few realize is that silence does not mean indifference. In fact, silence is often protection. It's the interval that the universe creates, so that you don't destroy what is still not ready. Think of a seed. If it is forced to germinate too soon, it doesn't create enough roots to survive. It's the same with this connection. The distance is the soil being prepared. But the resistance, that is the most painful part. He resists because feeling you is too intense. Because looking at you is like looking within himself, without filters, without masks. And not everyone is ready to see their own shadows reflected so clearly. You activate him. You awaken in him what was asleep. And awakening is not always sweet. Sometimes it's brutal. It's like being yanked from sleep by a flash of light. So don't be fooled. If he is running away, it's not because he doesn't feel. It's precisely because he feels too much. And this is the paradox of twin flames. The deeper the love, the more intense the need to distance oneself, until the heart learns that it is not possible to run away from what already lives within. Meanwhile, in the invisible, there is a movement happening. Shared dreams, sudden thoughts, memories that arise for no apparent reason. It's as if his soul calls out to yours from time to time, even without realizing it, and you feel it. You feel it in your body, like a sudden shiver. You feel it in your mind, like a phrase that comes out of nowhere. You feel it in your heart, like that longing that needs no reason to exist. The universe, at this point, begins to work to bring you closer, and often, this manifests in ways the ego doesn't understand. Obstacles disappear, casual encounters happen, messages arrive at unexpected moments. Other times the movement is more subtle. He starts dreaming of you, remembering things you lived together, feeling a strange emptiness that no one else can fill. And even if he fights against it, the energy is inevitable. The soul connection cannot be broken by will alone. It can be ignored, put to sleep, masked, but never destroyed. And when the cycle of avoidance approaches its end, there is an increase in that internal pressure. It's as if something inside him says, "You've run too far. It's time to face this." Perhaps you are feeling this now. A change in the air, a sharper intuition, a quiet certainty that something is about to happen. This is not imagination. This is resonance. When he starts to change, you feel it. When he begins to open up, you notice. You are part of the same energetic field, and any change in one echoes in the other. Human love often relies on promises, words, physical presence. Soul love does not. It relies on the courage to exist, even without guarantees. It does not need everything to be perfect to be real. It is real precisely because it transcends what is visible. Therefore, when you learn to listen to the signs of the invisible, you understand that the reunion begins long before the embrace. And now, perhaps, you are starting to connect the dots, to realize that what you experience is not an illusion, not a lack, not a weakness. It is a call, and the universe does not make calls in vain. It sees what you do not see, it hears what you do not say, and it responds, always. If any part of these words is stirring something within you, write in the comments what your soul is trying to say. This space is not just a video, it is a mirror for your journey. And every time you put into words what you feel, you honor your truth, and strengthen the energy that is already moving. His silence is not the end. No matter how much the ego tries to convince you otherwise, this pause does not mean that everything is over. Sometimes it is quite the opposite. It is the beginning of something deeper, more aligned, more true. What hurts, in fact, is not just his absence, but what that absence awakens within you. The insecurities, the fears, the old wounds that you might not even remember existed. And it is precisely there that the opportunity lies, because nothing reveals as much about us as the space the other leaves. When he pulls away, you are forced to turn back to yourself. At first, this may feel like a punishment, but over time, you begin to realize that it is a call to reconnect with what is yours, with what you may have given too much to the other. It is in this retreat that you discover strengths you didn't know you had, talents that were forgotten, lights that only turn on in the dark. Soul love does not exist to fill a void. It exists to show that the void was never real, just an illusion created by disconnection from oneself. Before any external reunion, the universe guides you toward internal reunion. And no matter how poetic this sounds, in practice, it is an intense, sometimes painful process, because it involves letting go of expectations, releasing control, stopping the attempt to predict or speed up the timing of things. Surrender is not giving up. It is trusting. It is letting go of control, but not the feeling. It is understanding that what is of the soul never gets lost. It may drift away, transform, go quiet, but it never disappears. True surrender is like opening your hands and allowing the river to follow its natural course, knowing that, if it is part of your destiny, it will find its way back to you. Silence, in this context, becomes a master. It teaches you to listen to what is beyond words, to feel the subtext of energy. It teaches you to value what is real, not just what is visible. It invites you to sit with yourself and ask, who am I without him? And gradually you begin to realize that the answer to this question is not half of someone, but whole in myself. When you return to your center, something changes in the energy. It's as if an invisible weight falls away. Anxiety gives way to a different calm, not a calm of someone who has given up, but of someone who trusts. It is in this frequency that true reconnection happens. Because the reunion does not begin with physical touch, but at the moment you align with yourself. And it is not about becoming perfect for him to return. The journey is not about molding yourself to fit another's love, but about expanding to fully live your own love. When you fill yourself with yourself, when you fill your field with your own light, you do not need to chase after, because the energy itself takes care of attracting what is yours. There is a profound wisdom in the timing of the universe. It does not delay, does not err, does not get lost. If there is a distance now, it is because there are lessons that cannot be ignored. Perhaps he needs to face his own ghosts. Perhaps you need to discover your own power. Perhaps both of you need to learn that love is not a prison, it is freedom, and that only two free souls can truly meet. And this is where healing happens. Not when the other returns, but when you realize that you can be whole, even without him. And paradoxically, it is this very wholeness that paves the way for him to come back, because energy does not miss a needy person, but is attracted to someone who vibrates with fullness. To love is not to diminish oneself to fit into the other's world. It is to recognize, honor oneself, and allow the other to do the same. When this awareness awakens, you stop begging for crumbs and start walking with the certainty that you deserve the feast. And, if it is meant to be, the universe will set this table before you, at the right moment, in the right place, with the right energy. His silence then ceases to be a threat. It becomes just a pause, a breath, a preparation. You begin to feel gratitude even for this space, because you understand that it is in it that you find yourself again. And when you return to yourself, everything that is yours also finds its way back. There comes a moment in the journey when the soul grows tired of waiting, not of feeling, because feeling is impossible to turn off, but of living in the position of someone who waits for life to happen through the other. It's as if, suddenly, you realize that you are not the part that stays on the riverbank, observing, but the entire current, that you are not a spectator of your own destiny, but the creator of it. This is the point at which the most important reunion occurs, the reunion with your higher self, that part of you that always knew the way, even when the mind got lost, that inner voice that whispers truths that fear tries to silence. And when this connection is re-established, you begin to look at everything, including him, with different eyes. You understand that you are not half of anyone, that your soul was not made to survive waiting, but to flourish in presence, that you do not need the other to be here for your light to shine. And, paradoxically, it is this very light that ignites in him the memory of who you are. When you align with your higher self, something changes in your vibration. The magnetism increases. People start to notice. You walk differently, speak differently. Even your silence carries more strength. It's not that you have forgotten him. It's that you remembered yourself, and that changes everything. The reunion with the other, at this level, ceases to be a need and becomes a bonus, because you understand that true union does not start in touch, but in spirit, and that if this bond is of the soul, nothing and no one can tear it from you. It is in this security that personal power is born, knowing that you are whole, and that anyone who enters your life needs to be prepared to honor that. This shift does not happen overnight. It is the result of small daily choices, choosing yourself, caring for your own energy, nurturing your gifts, surrounding yourself with those who uplift, saying no to what diminishes. It is a silent process, but it resonates far and wide, including with him, because yes, he feels it. He may not understand it rationally, but energy speaks before words do. When you return to yourself, he notices, even from afar, even in silence, even while trying to distract himself, something in him changes. Perhaps he feels discomfort, perhaps an inexplicable longing, perhaps an emptiness that no distraction can fill. It is the energetic field between you communicating, reminding him that the thread was never cut. And here is the great revelation. Soul love does not exist to complete, but to mirror. When you are aligned, he sees in you the highest version of himself. When you drift away from your essence, he feels as if he has lost his way. That's why the greatest contribution you can make to this connection is not to wait or chase after. It is to be the purest expression of who you are. This is the true reclaiming of personal power, not allowing the absence of the other to steal your presence in the world. It is to rise every day with the decision to live, not just to survive. It is to place yourself at the center of your own story, with or without him by your side. And when this energy settles in, the universe begins to move pieces that once seemed stuck. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to convince, explain, justify. Your soul already knows. Your body already feels. And when you live in this state of wholeness, you attract not only what you desire, but what is compatible with your essence. This is how true reunions happen, not by the force of insistence, but by the force of authenticity. So, allow yourself to be whole. Allow yourself to live. Allow yourself to shine so brightly that life itself ensures to bring to you who and what is aligned with your purpose. Because in the end, it is not about seeking, but about being. And when you are, everything that is yours comes. There comes a point in the journey when you understand that nothing was in vain. Every silence, every tear, every night you wondered if he still thought of you, all were part of an invisible thread, weaving something greater than your mind could imagine. The pain was not punishment, it was preparation, and the distance was not abandonment, it was alignment. The time you spent apart did not erase the connection. On the contrary, it strengthened what was real and burned away what was illusion. He needed to find parts of himself that he could only see away from you. You needed to reconnect with your own center, to realize that it was never just about having the other, but about being your best expression, regardless of who walks beside you. And it is at this point when you let go of the reins, that the universe does what it has always known how to do. Create perfect encounters at the perfect time, not the time of your anxiety, but the time of your soul. Because what is meant for the soul doesn't arrive early or late. It arrives when your energy is ready to receive. Now, perhaps you are feeling that something is approaching. It is not just a desire, it is a different frequency, a premonition that does not arise from need, but from certainty. It is the same kind of feeling that precedes great changes, a mix of calm and excitement, of confidence and expectation. This is the energetic signature that the cycle of escape is closing. The reunion doesn't need to happen dramatically. It can be a casual glance that suddenly brings back the entire universe you have already lived. It can be a simple message, but loaded with everything that was stuck in silence. It can even be a small gesture that brings back the feeling of home. And when that happens, you will know that nothing, absolutely nothing was lost. But here is the key. You don't need to wait for that to live. Because life doesn't start at the reunion. It starts now, at the moment you decide to honor who you are, where you are, and what you have already achieved. The love that comes from outside only expands the love you already cultivate inside. And when this truth settles in your heart, you stop begging for presents and start to radiate light. If this message spoke to your soul, subscribe to the channel now. Here, we are not just exchanging words. We are creating a space for spiritual rescue. Share this video with someone who also needs to remember that the pause is not the end. And tell me in the comments, do you feel that the cycle of escape between you is closing? Or do you sense that this is the moment to return to yourself? Your sharing might be the answer another soul is seeking. And remember, what is meant for the soul, time does not erase. The universe takes care. And when you let go, it prepares. There is no mistake. There is no delay. There is only the perfect flow of something that was meant to happen. Twin flames do not seek each other. They meet when the soul is ready.